When it comes to relationships, breakups, separations, divorces, there is a very toxic mindset that insidiously seeps in without people noticing. If it's left unchecked, this mindset starts to poison every part of your relationship and causes the relationship to crumble right under your feet. But not only that, this mindset also creates a lot more toxicity within your partner. And if this goes unchecked, it causes the ultimate downfall of the relationship. So in this video, we're going to talk about the fallacy of blame within a breakup. We're going to talk about how shifting your perspective on blame and responsibility can lead to massive personal growth. And as a result of that, maximize your chances of reconciling and repairing your relationship with your partner. So let's play a quick game. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you blame your ex for the breakup? Now, the next question is, how much responsibility do you take? For most people, the first number is much, much higher. This feels pretty normal, right? But the problem is this imbalance can significantly impact your chances of reconciling with your partner and repairing the relationship for good. So playing the blame game, it's a really common reaction, pointing fingers at your ex, listing all their faults, and convincing yourself that they're the sole reason for the relationship's demise, right? But this blame game is ultimately a fallacy. It's a relationship killer. It's natural to look for explanations. Our brains crave closure, right? They want to close the loop of these questions that we have. And the idea of blaming our ex or our partner seems like the easiest way to make sense of all of this pain. You know, if we tell ourselves, if only they hadn't cheated, or if only they just communicated they were unhappy, we'd still be together. This mindset, it feels comforting in the short term. It's a nice soothing balm to the stress that's going on around us, right? But it's a trap that sabotages both your personal growth and also any chance of reconciliation. Pointing the finger of blame keeps you stuck. It feels like your brain is doing something useful because when you're busy pointing fingers, you're not really looking inwards, right? You're not growing, you're not learning, you're not evolving. You're just replaying the same old story. You're stuck in the past, casting yourself as the victim and your ex as the villain. And this narrative might feel good momentarily, but it's poison for your emotional recovery and your future relationship, whether it's with your ex or with someone new. But why? Why does our brain default to blame? Well, this is basically a powerful defense mechanism that protects our ego and it gives us an illusion of control. When we get into this habit of blaming, we're ultimately allowing ourselves to become a victim of someone else. We start to perceive them as the aggressor and we start to perceive ourselves as the victim. And because of these perceptions, it develops a really unhealthy perspective of the relationship because you start to see just problems in your partner. And you stop seeing the discords between yourself and your partner. You start to see them as the problem rather than the gap between you both as the problem. This constant state of victimhood drains your emotional resources and it leaves you stuck and helpless. This blame mentality has a massive impact on our emotional recovery. It keeps you emotionally tied to the past and it prevents you from actually healing and growing. So what is the alternative? Do we take the blame ourselves? Well, not quite. Responsibility is the antidote to blame. Taking responsibility doesn't mean shouldering all the blame or excusing your ex's behavior, whatever behaviors they had. It's about recognizing your role in the relationship dynamic and focusing on what you can control, your actions, your reactions, and your growth. Responsibility is the key to maximizing your chances of rekindling your relationship with your ex-partner. What responsibility does is it puts you back in the driver's seat of your life. Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstance, you become an active participant in your own story. The locus of control focuses back on you. And this shift in perspective is really crucial for healing and moving forward, whether that means reconciling with your ex or building healthier relationships in the future. And just before I jump into this, if you do want more videos like this on building and repairing healthy relationships, then feel free to subscribe to my channel for new videos every single week. But what is the difference between blame and responsibility? Blame is pointing fingers and making accusations. It's saying, you did this to me, or if only you had done X, we'd still be together. Responsibility is acknowledging your role in the relationship dynamic. It's saying, I contributed to this situation. I had an influence in this situation, and I have the power to learn and grow from it. Blame is a very toxic mindset because not only is it disempowering, it's also very past focused. It keeps your mind in the past of all these things that happen. Whereas taking responsibility is understanding that whatever situation you're in, you had an influence, focusing on the actions that you took and how you can learn and grow from it in order to create a better future. The outcomes from these mindsets are drastically different. Blame keeps you stuck in victim mode. It feels powerless and it builds resentment, right? Because you're focused on somebody else's actions. You're focused on the external and you're in the past. It prevents personal growth and it leads to a lot of repeating patterns in future relationships. Whereas responsibility empowers you. It opens the door to self-reflection, learning, and positive change. It creates a much better future. And this is a very powerful mindset shift. So consider this example. One of my members, Pamela, blamed her ex for their breakup. She was stuck in this loop of thinking about all the times that he caused her hurt, and she stayed bitter and struggled to move on. Once we started working together, she started breaking things down. She looked at it and started taking responsibility for her part in the relationship's breakdown. The more she reflected on where her blind spots were, on how she could improve and how she could move forward, the more that her relationship started to change. She started to grow herself, and that had a massive impact on repairing the relationship. And as a result, she started letting go of that resentment, and all of this anger that had festered inside wasn't coming out in her communication anymore. This then gave her more ability to have healing conversations with her husband, which meant that he responded better and they could actually start overcoming some of the emotional discords that had happened in the relationship. This is the power of taking responsibility. Because ultimately, taking responsibility demonstrates emotional maturity and it develops your self-awareness. These are qualities that are incredibly attractive in a partner. And this has a massive impact on repairing your relationship or even reconciling your relationship if you've broken up right now. So it's really crucial to know that this mindset extends beyond your current relationship. It is a lens in which you view the entire world, everything that you do, all romantic interactions, all interactions with other people. And this is what a lot of my members have found, is that once they start to get rid of this idea of blame, then their relationship starts to turn around. They start to have a lot more influence over the way that their relationship goes, and they can start moving forward in a positive direction. But this is a skill that needs to be worked on. And this is what I work on with my members, is to start getting rid of this idea of blame. So I'm going to give you some tips in a second on how to start getting out of this habit. But if you do want to join the members and start your journey to repair your relationship, then join me on my free relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the same steps and tools that all of my members use to start repairing their relationships. Just click on the link in the description to grab your spot. So this is a skill to build. And over time, as you build it, instead of feeling at the mercy of other people's actions, you become the author of your own relationship story. You gain the ability to learn from past mistakes and start creating healthier patterns, not only for yourself, but also for your partner as well. So how do we break free from this cycle and embrace responsibility? The shift from blame to responsibility is a process, and it's not always going to be comfortable. In fact, it can be very uncomfortable at times. Initially, you're probably going to feel some internal resistance to it. It's not a nice feeling to have, to start looking at your own flaws and realizing that you have a massive impact on the way that your relationship has ended up. After all, it's easier to point fingers than it is to look inward, but this discomfort is where the real growth happens. So the first step to making this shift is to acknowledge that you played a role in the relationship's outcome. This doesn't mean that you're solely responsible, but recognizing your part is really crucial. Next, focus on what you can control. You can't change your ex's behavior, but you can work on your own actions and reactions. There are some cognitive behavioral therapy techniques for reframing your thoughts and focusing on your own personal agency. So to do this, challenge this negative self-talk. Every time you feel this illusion of blame, start to reframe these thoughts. So let's say, for example, you get a thought of, my ex ruined everything. Start reframing it to, I contributed to our relationship issues, and I have the power to learn and grow from this experience. This shift in perspective is massive, and it helps to move you from helplessness to empowerment. And as you start to do this, it's going to start coming out when you talk to your partner. You're going to have realizations. You're going to have less anger because you're understanding that you had a role in the relationship. So as part of this, one of the steps you can do is to list specific behaviors or patterns that you'd like to change. So in taking responsibility, looking back at specific patterns or behaviors that you had and writing out what you'd like to change in the future. So maybe you struggled with communication, or you had trouble expressing your needs, or you had trouble listening. Identifying these areas give you some real goals to work on, regardless of whether you're broken up or not. But this just doesn't happen in one sitting. It takes time. It takes repetition. But it's crucial to start now. And over time, as you start to put in this work and start to dig in to your past blind spots and start to reinterpret them moving forward, this will start to rewire your brain over time. Your initial reactions will start to shift. Your brain's automatic reaction will start to shift from blame to responsibility. But this is part of a bigger mindset shift. In order to start reprogramming your brain, to start mastering your emotions, it requires a lot more deep work. I've actually touched on this before in a video which I'll link to on the screen, but mastering your emotions within a relationship is really crucial in order to navigate the challenges and discords that come across in every single relationship. This is a skill to learn, not just for repairing a relationship with your ex, but for future relationships moving forward. If you master your emotions, you will master your relationship. So I'm going to leave you with that deep dive video, and I will see you over there.